My name is Blafian. I am a seal who lived with my three sisters in the deep Atlantic Ocean. We are of the silky kind. We are primarily sea creatures, but when we come ashore and shed our skins, we become as humans. We have come ashore on Fanore Beach for many centuries on the 4th month of every year. There on the dunes grows the gentian. This tiny flower's rare beauty and healing properties have long been spoken of in stories passed down through generations of seal clan. It is embedded in our past for its powers and its vibrant, alluring blue colour, only seldom seen by sea dwellers. It is for this blossom I was named when at my birth the elders saw my two blue eyes open.
We're going sailing out on the silver sea. The air is full of treasure, you and me. All along the shore you can hear the mermaids sing. No one will believe us, no one will believe us. We'll wake in the dawn in the shadow of the thorn. No one will believe us. How high is the mountain? How deep is the sea? How wide is the ocean between you and me? On among the waves, dolphins playing same games. No one will believe us. No one will believe us. We'll wake in the dawn.
Laura and her sisters were approaching Fanore as the sun was arising in the east. She felt the sand against her flippers. She heard her sister's warning calls, but only listened to the louder insistence that came from inside herself. It was the lure of the gentian. She cast off her skin to the black, shining wet rocks and ran. Her eyes strained to see any sign of the magical gentian.
On the shore below, a fisherman preparing to launch his curragh makes an astonishing find.
Fisherman. She looked up and the brightness of the morning had become muted. She looked out and there was no sign of her sisters. The tide had turned. She ran down the dunes, empty-handed, disappointed, and alarmed. Her skin was nowhere to be seen. Gone. She ran into the water, shouting her sisters' names, but the seaweed grabbed and tangled her legs, and the wind swept her voice away. She lost her footing, and in her panic, she flailed in the water, unable to tell the sea from the sky. The water rushed in, and her senses rushed out.
She dreamt of the gentian. Like a tiny blue star, it winked and teased from afar. She dreamt of her sisters, sadly returning home without her to tell the tale of her recklessness. She hoped she would be brave enough to do what all Silkies must do when they lose their skins, remain a human land dweller.
It was a fisherman that pulled her from the knots of the seaweed and pressed the water from her lungs. He knew she was a Silkie because it was he who found her skin draped over a border like a sheet of slough.
As he removed the last bit of tangled seaweed, he looked directly at her for signs of life. And amazingly, she opened her eyes. They were as blue as the precious gentian.
My name is Teddy. I am a fisherman living in the small North Clare village of Fanore. My life is hard sometimes, especially in the winter, when the sea conditions are at their most dangerous and unpredictable. Summertime is different. The days are much longer and more peaceful. Birdsong and the sound of ocean fill the ears of the villagers. Dolphins leap and play, swimming east towards Galway. I have even seen small colonies of seals, most often to the west, near the Aran Islands. They come to shore to have their pups and love to sunbathe on the warm rocks.
Teddy took the coat from his back and wrapped it round the shivering creature.
He would bring her to his own beyond the dunes to warm by the fire. She, wearing a dress that had once belonged to his mother, would rest there till morning. As she sleeps, he will quietly take his fishing basket, still containing her stolen sealskin, and hide it in a hollow in the eaves. For it is well known among the human folk that to keep a silky skin is to keep the silky from changing back into a seal and returning to the sea.
Perhaps her grandmother had seen more than just the colour in Bloth's eye when she named her Bloth Fionn, meaning wildflower, for she is not afraid. And when the fisherman asks would she stay, she says yes. He promises his love would be greater than all the oceans in the world, and so they marry. Each night he falls asleep thinking of his secret.
Sweet babe, a golden cradle holds thee, soft as snow white.
A child is born to them, and as sometimes happens when there's a half-human, half-seal baby, it is born with a white sealskin. Immediately the fisherman removes this luminous stripe and places the baby in its mother's arms without her seeing what he had done. He brings the skin to the hollow in the eaves and places it in the basket alongside the other. He could hear her singing a soft lullaby to the tiny newborn, her sweet, strange voice reaching all the way up to the eaves, where he sits alone holding the key to all his happiness.
At weekends, the fisherman and his family joined the village folk. They were always busy repairing fishing nets, cleaning lobster pots, and sorting their currents. The village women baked bread and made tasty broth to make sure everyone was fed. The children learned to knit and sew and entertain themselves playing games around the fire.
My father put a seashell in the palm of my hand, a dog walks with a shiny, wet with bits of sand. The Wilkie said, Grosity said, when it lives too near the crab, Carjamacree, oh Virgin Gully. There's a Falafia concealed in the briars. I wonder if the ancient seal folks saw the fires. And what did they tell the children about the people who lived here? Carjamacree, oh Virgin Gully. I'm the strongest in the water among all my friends. The web between my fingers like water wings, they said. I can carry loads of seashell sand and drop not a single one. Carjamacree, oh Virgin Gully. My mother lets me help her as she makes bread and broth. Her fine black hair is braided and tucked beneath the cloth. Sometimes we sing in whispers and our words are only thoughts. Carjamacree, oh Virgin Gully.
I am a child of a human fisherman and a silkie. All my life my mother has taught me the stories of her people. The foods they ate, the songs they sang, the places they saw. It was great fun and happy times. She would light up and the house was full of joy. We heard all about the seal folk ways and especially the adventures of her sisters. When Mama began to miss them too much, telling stories made her more sad. So after a time we stopped asking her. Father called her melancholy, so she could go off on her own for a little while. He would keep me busy teaching me about the ways of people and about the work of fishing. When she quietly returned, she left a trail of salt watery footprints across the floor.
Years go by and Bloth delights both the fisherman and their child with stories of her life with her sisters and the adventures they had. The great mountainous blue whales that would rise up, 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 only to come crashing down into the waves, sending torrents of foaming sea into the sky.
As she told her tales with shining eyes and mysterious gestures, he imagined her swimming freely as she was born to do.
But time passed and war on Bloth. When the fisherman and the child were huddled together over a task or a game, she would slip out to the shore unnoticed.
Remember me, my sisters, as I remember you. My heart is full of longing for the things we used to do. I hear your voices on the waves at night, even when I sleep. But when I try to answer, I wake and then I weep. Hear me now, my sisters, it's not my choices I regret, for my heart is full of fondness for the people here I met. But there's a falling inside me for those who know me best, and will we ever swim together far away from fishers' nets?
Crouching in the long grass of the dunes, or in the shadows of the rocky shore. Blithe, anguished songs swirled around the child's form like a flock of starlings. Running all the way home, the fluttering persisted deep inside the youngster's chest.
I went directly to bed. I lay staring at the ceiling and out of breath. As I calmed myself, I realized I was looking at something I had never noticed. A shape in the eaves, a box of some sort. I stood up on my bed and reached into the darkness of the hollow. Yes, there! I could feel the roving rushes of a fishing basket. It was almost out of reach. I jumped up from the bed, catching the corner of the basket with my fingertips, and I came tumbling down, spilling its contents on the floor.
Instantly the room vanished, as the skin fell over my head and around my shoulders. There was rushing my ears like the wildest January gales. This was not an animal skin. This skin belonged to me.
I looked through these two great round eyes and was staring out at the sea.
To the left of the open sea and the island of Inisheer, upon its rocky shores, my own mother could have been born. Here, Dún Airgis, the ancient ringfort, overlooked the domain of my clan.
Until this moment, I had been a land creature, learning the ways of my father while harboring the spirit of my mother, whose world had been stolen from her. She, who bravely kept her promise to live as a human the best that she could. But now I am old enough and my mother is fading. The magnitude of the truth brought tears to my eyes. As I wiped them away, the magical vision faded and I was once again in the little cottage. The two skins lay lifeless on the floor, my father's fishing basket empty and broken. I knew what I had to do.
She was going to find her sisters. She thought she could hear them calling her to come home. They could have been out there in the darkness looking for her, but these legs and arms were no match for the bullying tide.
Oh, tails and fins are so much better than these spindly things, she thought. She could hardly catch her breath, and the ground kept falling away under her. She was so sad and desperate that she thought she no longer cared about anything. Then she heard the cries of her only child.
Mama!
Suddenly, there was a bump against her side, and before her was a beautiful white seal. In its mouth was a dark sealskin undulating in the current. It was her long-gone skin returned.
The white seal released it over her nearly lifeless body, and she looked through her big round eyes into the eyes of her own seal child who had saved her life.
The fisherman watched his family swim away, but he had known from the moment he placed Blas
silky skin in his fishing basket that it might one day be found. And once it was found, he would have no claim. He would not have to keep his secret anymore.
Mine is a song of ebbs and tides, of nets and lines, of measured time. I once loved a girl, I once had a child, I once told a tale, I once told a lie. I kept a secret all these years, in this basket hidden here. I thought I saved you from the sea, but it was you that had saved me. And now our child, nearly grown, has found the secret of our home. That love's the strongest net of all, is but a trap in which we fall. The key has turned, the lock released, the lid thrown back, the light shone in.